Cheers.
Hello.
Hey, Builder Boy's here, except Josiah's still doing dishes.
Yeah.
So he'll be a bit late. And in his place, we have Hattie. Say hi, Hattie.
Yeah, hashtag
Say hi up
everyday
there.
life.
Hi up there.
Hi.
Hi. All right, so we are working on our part 2. What's that called? It's first we did brainstorming, then we're doing research.
It's big robots pop footballs.
Right. So we're working on the robots.
Research, prototype, and final build.
Exactly. Good job.
Mark Rotor.
So we are working on ideas for the mechanisms for our food and water dispensers.
Yes.
So we're going to start off with the food one. Let's talk about some methods of being able to dispense or components to it or whatever. I think number one is you got to have a hopper. You take the food from a bag and you put it into a container like a garbage can, brand new garbage can with a good lid on it, right? And then you put it in there. And we could probably do that on top of the chicken house.
You know what? Oh, I already have the idea for it.
Well, we're throwing all these ideas down. So do you agree it needs a hopper first?
Yes, so
okay.
you take the bin, and then it's got this little board, like something like made of plastic. That's like, it goes up when the animal steps on the pad. So instead, it doesn't have to be electronic. It's got like string or something that goes down to the pad, and there's like a spring that's on the pad. They step on the pad. That's the trigger.
So triggers. We're gonna call it triggers.
It's a pad.
Okay, so triggers. Your first trigger idea is a pad that the animal.
It steps on and pulls down.
No, we're talking about chickens and ducks, right?
Oh, chickens and yeah. I was thinking dogs.
And we can look at this when we look at the other pets. So a pad which the bird perches on. Once you train the birds, those things will know to go there for food. They're smart. Okay, so that's a possibility. What's another trigger possibility? What if it was just because the container or the feeding tray was getting empty? Which leads us to a component. I think we need to have an eating tray. And that will keep the food clean and organized.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes from the hopper to the tray. How does it get from the hopper to the tray is the dispensing mechanism. So we need a dispensing mechanism.
But it also has to have a like fail safe, so it doesn't clog up on the way down.
So that's another component is a fail safe. Our anti-clog system.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Now let's go back to your triggers. What's another type of trigger? Me, I was thinking
sensor.
When it gets too late. Well, we don't. I was hoping to avoid electronics, so a sensor would be part of electronics. But gravity, if it was being weighed down by the food, as it came up, it could trigger a trigger mechanism that released food, weighs it back down again, or could it even run on a valve with the spring, and it weighs down and holds the valve closed. When it goes up, the food dumps out, weighing it back down again. So I'm going to say gravity valve is one version, which is part of the dispensing mechanism, which is a valve. Or there's a gravity switch. With switch, I don't necessarily mean electronic. I just mean that there's a mechanical switch that gets hit when the thing gets too late. So I think there's two different ways that can be done.
Oh, yeah.
Now, a valve / gate, because that's what we're really talking about, some kind of gate. Another mechanism for dispensing like the right amount is to have sort of a disc with chambers. Like you think about when you go to you put a quarter in the little machine and it's full of those little slime things, and then you crank it or the gumball machine and only one gumball comes out because it's got a mechanism that just grabs one gumball. So I was thinking like a rotor. That would be a rotor. All right. And I also think somehow we need to go from a big bin of food to the dispenser. What do we need there?
Dad.
Don't worry about it. Just telling me that it wants me to buy that software.
Oh, but wasn't that something about a virus?
No, that's an antivirus. I have the free trial and it wants me to buy it. And it tells me every day, multiple times a day, your trial's up. You need to buy me now.
So it's
fine. So, do you know what I mean? You've got a big hopper that's like got a 20-inch bottom. And we're in Canada, so we should probably speak not as much inches. So what's 20 inches in millimeters?
No!
That's like 50 millimeters. Is it 50 mils?
No! Why can't we just
50
speak
centimeters,
English?
500 millimeters.
Can we please just speak English?
Okay, so 20-inch base. How do you get that down to something that's more realistic for dispensing for a valve? You can't have a big valve. It's too much, right? A big gate or whatever. Do you need a funnel shape on the bottom? A lot of hoppers, the bottom has got that funnel shape, right? So I'm going to say that we need to get a funnel shape. Now, we can come back to what should be our hopper. Should it be a garbage can? Should we only work with the ice cream bucket size? Or 5-gallon pails? Or should we fill a 45-gallon drum full of food at one time? I mean, those are all different options.
Well, with chicken, we have 8 ducks right now. Each one eats quite a bit because they're bigger than chickens.
Right.
And then 15 chickens in that one spot. Plus we have a whole lot of other ones. So that eats a lot, especially when they're fully grown.
True. Now I was also thinking if you did want to have it where they take it on demand, and in other words, every time that they go there, it triggers it instead of the gravity. You could have a vane, like a vane rotor, or whatever, and basically it's a bunch of vanes like this, and it ratchets. So every time they weigh down on it, it rotates this a little bit. And every time they get on there, dispenses a bit more food, so that the one chicken can only eat so much. Then it goes off. There's no more food there. Thing pops up. Another chicken sees, oh, there's food. Jumps up there. Okay, so I'm going to call that rotary vane.
Sorry, my sister's screaming in the background.
I think she's telling the cat off.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we have rotor or a rotary vane. Rotor on a motor.
Dad.
Now, I would rather avoid electrics because with electrics mean that now you got to have power out there or batteries to replace or a solar panel.
No,
so
I'd rather a solar panel lights.
I have a solar panel we could use for it if it was really efficient.
Have a solar panel right now?
I actually do. I have 2. But I don't know if that's really how I want to go with that.
No, I don't want Mark Rover getting mad at us.
Okay, well, he will get mad. And he likes the story. It's about the story. Our focus isn't on digital electronics though.
But isn't the last one supposed to be story?
It's all story. Okay. Okay, I like that you had the anti-clog mechanism there. You were thinking ahead on that. Okay, let's talk about the water. How do we dispense water? Now, I think, again, we need to have a reservoir. It's sort of like a hopper.
Water is more difficult.
Actually, in lots of ways, it's easier because if you don't have to have a reservoir. Actually, it's a source. We could have a hose run up to it.
Right.
Water doesn't need to funnel down. It just needs to have an opening on the bottom of the bucket, like a bulkhead fitting.
But leaks, like a slight hole, means tons of water is being wasted.
Is that what's happening on the other ones? The little nipple ones?
No, it just clogs up.
So the smaller the little fitting, the more likely it's going to clog up. That's a point too, right? So garden hose is another way too. If we hooked up a valve, the valve was activated by something, then you're going to have garden hose live all the time, except for wintertime when it's freezing. That kind of could be bad. Mind you, the whole thing could be bad in the wintertime when it freezes.
Even the food could be bad.
So that's something else I'm not sure what to do about.
No, just make a new mechanism for the winter. You switch it out in late fall.
Freezing is a question mark, though, because it is a good point. Like you talked about as fail-safe on the food. That gives us something to think about for that. Is there some way that we can keep it warm? If like let's say it was painted black. What does painted black mean? It absorbs heat from light.
Science.
So that could be a help, maybe. Anyway, insulation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If the reservoir was in with the chickens, maybe their warmth in their little hen house could actually keep it from freezing.
That's don't have a lot of warmth in there, unless they're sitting on it like it's their eggs.
Well, that's true. Fair enough. Bulkhead fitting. So dispensing mechanism, I could see. A simple ball valve. Okay, a simple ball valve. With a spring. And then we have the tray, the eating tray or drinking tray, the bowl, called the bowl. And the bowl pulls it down when it's full. As it empties, it gets pulled up by the spring, opening the valve. A spring, like Mark said, doesn't necessarily have to be a coily spring. It could be a bungee, a rubber band. It could be a diving board type. Right?
Yeah, I just thought springs were like spinning.
Could even be a ball with air, a balloon with air.
Really, that's a spring?
Yeah, it's a type of elastic. The air spring, actually. Yeah.
Science.
Yeah, you can do a pusher spring inside a sleeve, or you can do a puller spring. There's a couple ways of doing it. All right. What's another way of turning on and off a source of water, or dispensing water from a reservoir, pumping it out? So instead of using gravity, like I'm proposing, we could use a pump. But how do you do that without a motor? Well, sprayers have a pump. Bicycle pumps. There's all sorts of pumps.
Like pumping a tile?
Right.
Oh, like that. Sure.
Another thing you could do is have a pressure tank, and you take your air compressor line and you fill it up, and then it squirts the water out until it's lost pressure or water. It's another option. Pressurize. Pressurized or gravity? Question mark. A pump could be electric. It could be mechanical, like a diaphragm.
Plus, we don't really gotta worry about how.
Or a piston.
With water, it's okay if we leak some water, because we have a well.
Yeah. Now let's imagine you had a piston. The piston was your pump. So, maybe you have a spring piston. So you push it one time, it sucks up water and fills the bowl, or the tray. Chicken jumps on, drinks it, jumps off, and when the bird's weight comes off, the spring piston goes back up again, squirts more water in.
Oh.
So that could be, again, on demand as opposed to maintained. So really, in all, the two ideas in both dispensing systems, there's on demand, which means the animal triggers it when they want it, or there's maintain.
Oh, something we forgot about is chickens and ducks poo wherever they want. So there'd be a lot of poos on your platform.
So that's another fail-safe issue too, is keep clean.
And also, with our ducks and chickens, like the little ones right now, they're with the goats. And in my opinion, like every once in a while we put the goats back in there. So in my opinion, we should put some sort of box over it with like a door big enough that the ducks and chickens can get through, but the goats, they could stand on it.
Or what if the bowl or dish or whatever only had room for the head to go in, so that the goat couldn't get its nose in there? They only had room for a chicken or duck head. That would be a fail-safe, because if it had a cover on it, then they can't put in it water or food. So kind of like that concept. So a cover with holes.
Now, but the platform would still be outside, and they'd still poop on the platform.
Well, I don't know this how it even has to be on a platform. It has to be both on the side of a tree or something, or on the side of the house. So now, what are the problems with on-demand? On-demand means you have to have a certain weight to activate it. So if a duck is too light, the chicken's heavy enough that the duck doesn't get any food, that's kind of rip-off. Or if it's a chick, doesn't get any food, again, rip-off. So we have...
Sorry, I need a little help. I want to do a weight.
We have a weight tolerance problem.
Daddy, can Sally help me do a weight?
We are right now doing a video. See the camera up there? Yeah. We're doing our video, so we can't do the race right now.
Say hi to the people. No, the camera's the people.
Maintaining level. The concern that I would have with a maintained level would be contamination, like moisture.
Yeah.
If you got food there all the time, does our wet weather in the wintertime wreck it? Right? So contamination.
Yeah, because the West Coast is the wet coast.
And the other one is rodents. You're basically saying, come get this food whenever you want to, here it is. Whereas, if you did have on demand, the chickens would eat it when it's there, and then there's not leaving a bowl full of food exposed all the time.
Yeah. And it could be a certain way, but you can change the weight dial as they grow. So you can change the amount of pressure it needs.
Right.
And then it gets to a point where the rodents and rats and stuff, they go on expecting food when the dial is really low. It doesn't take much weight. They get food whenever they want. But as the ducks and chickens grow, they get nothing.
So I guess we have to decide whether we're going to go on demand or maintain level, because that will immediately cross off thoughts one way or the other. So, weight tolerance problem. How could we overcome weight tolerance problems? Like, what do you think? How much does a chicken weigh? 5, 6 pounds, right? Maybe even more, 7 or 8 pounds. How much does a duck weigh? 3, 4 pounds?
No, not really.
They're not as heavy.
No, they're big. They're really big.
Yeah, but they don't usually weigh as much, right?
No, they can weigh more. Our big ducks out there, they're big. They're
okay,
fat.
All right. So, now, maybe there's a way to adjust that. So when you start off with small birds like we have now, we can add more counterbalance.
That's what I was saying.
Or tension. So this could be solved by adjustable counter.
I'm really looking forward to the prototype.
Counterbalance.
Is prototype tomorrow?
I think it is, yeah. Adjustable counterbalance. Adjustable counterbalance or tension, I'm going to say.
Wait, it's only 4 days?
No, it's over the better part of 2 weeks. We have time to do the build, right? But we have to keep everybody up to date and posted. Unfortunately, we're behind everybody on the West Coast in there, right? Well, I shouldn't say behind everybody. There are other time zones beyond us that could be doing it, like Hawaii.
Seriously?
Yeah. Technically, all of Asia too, right? So, yeah, half of Europe, or all of Europe, most of Europe, I guess, really, because time zone 0 is Greenwich, England. Anyway, off topic. What do you do about keeping rodents out? Well, if a chicken can get its head in there, a rodent can get in there, so that's trouble. And contamination, I think, is by having little openings, we can prevent most contamination, even rain and poop and that kind of stuff, splashing from the water side to the food side. We don't want to have cross contamination, so that's an important factor to consider too.
Well, if I were to do it, I'd have the water and the food back to back.
No, yes, I agree. I also think it's easier to maintain a level. So I'm going to give this some points too on easier.
Easier for what?
To do the maintain the level than it would be to make it work on demand. There's issues with on demand. You might get some starving chickens. You get one chicken that just constantly goes and activates the thing, and other chickens that can't figure it out or never get to the perch, or ducks too. They never get on the pad or whatever the perch is for them to weigh it down. So I would say it's a riskier endeavor to do on demand because you don't know if everybody's going to get in there to eat it.
And with water, I think that even if the water's on demand, as long as it's connected to the hose directly, it's better because I have to water the ducks and chickens 5 times a day because they're not tall enough to drink out of taller buckets. And there's so many of them, they just guzzle short ones.
If we found a bigger reservoir like one of those rain barrels as the source, you would only have to fill that up once a week.
Yeah, but then it'd take a really long time.
Well, it's true, but it's one time doing a long time, not doing a little bit, standing there every day, and then, they knocked their water over, and they knocked it over again, right? Like, that's one of the reasons they go through a lot of water, is they dump it out.
Yeah.
So,
especially chickens. As soon as it gets to a certain level,
right,
they'll sit on it.
So I have another thought too, and that is, can the water come from the roof of the thing when we put a roof on it? So you might have to keep it topped up, but can we collect rainwater to help with that? And then we just put a sight glass on the side of it, and then we know.
But what about hot summers? Hot summers, they're thirstier, and it doesn't rain as much. That means I have to fill the rain barrel even more often. I don't have the help of rainwater.
That's true, but again, for part of the time, it's easier. It's pretty consistent.
Why don't we just do a low power, like the hose is just on a low power dial, like at the.
Well, where does the hose going to run to do that? Across the driveway, right? So that's one of the issues that I have with it. We got to run it across the driveway, either suspended in the air, or on the ground, or underground. So there's a lot of work in that. Whereas if we go to the rain barrel, we put the roof over top, the metal roof over top of the chicken pen, catch the water in the gutter. Lots of times you have that. And other times you just hook up, carry the hose over there, fill it up, be done. We're 24 minutes in. I would like to refine this down to which direction we're going to go. Kind of too bad that Joe's not here to be involved in that. So, riskier and harder to do is the on-demand. It's a lot more variables. it's easier for us to do a maintain a level of water in a dish, and maintain a level of food available in the thing,
But
with the risk of rodents going in there eating some at night.
You add points on the on-demand one because it's cool.
Yeah.
It sounds more awesome and it looks more. Actually, I think when I look at it in my mind, it looks awesome, and with the other one, it's not as awesome.
Okay.
But if you do the on-demand, if you have it so that each time they get on it and then go off, the food goes down. Like when they go on it, the food or water goes into the thing. They drink and then they leave. And when they get off, it puts food in water. And then the ones that can't figure it out, they go and they still get food. And then they leave. And then the ones that can figure it out go do more food.
So what you're saying is there a way for it to fill a tray or a bowl that provides more than just what that chicken would need? He's actually or she's actually jumping on there and it's bedding and fitting all of them.
Yeah.
So it dispenses a larger amount over a greater area.
Or you could do multiple trays. It steps on it and it releases on like maybe 2 more trays, so that when another chicken sees it, they run over, eat food until they're full, but then they'll leave when they're.
What about a night valve or night door? If you went for the maintain a level, I mean, you could just have a door that gets closed over top of the night, keep the rodent out. Over top, like a lid that goes over top of the tray or the bowl. Yeah, that could almost work.
Timer.
Yeah.
Is Mom home? Yeah, Mom's home. Hey.
You know, on a maintenance one, it's an easy valve.
What?
A toilet valve. The bowl. It fills a certain level. The bulb comes up to the top. It drops down. It drops down because they're drinking it. The bulb goes down, and turns on the water, comes back up again. Really easy. And it can be plumbed right in. It doesn't even need electrics. Not like an irrigation switch, which would need 24 volts. Huh.
So you could do a couple awesome things. Do we want to go for harder and cooler, or easier and less risky? But it could.
Well, I want to be pragmatic. I mean, keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid, is one of the rules to consider, right? So KISS theory is something we should really think about, because it's nice to go for the sky. We've already decided to do 2 things into one mechanism and one project. So we're already at a tall order. And if you're going to go for even harder, are we going to finish it? Because these are important factors. You got to be able to finish it.
Yeah.
So
on time.
So just like he says, constraints. You got to have constraints. And I would say a constraint needs to be, is it reasonable to build in the next few days?
Yeah, time.
Okay. Or is it going to take a lot more prototyping to figure out which way of dispensing on demand? I think it's going to be really quick to get which one is going to be maintenance, right? You don't need to have a way of limit dispensing a certain amount. We're just going to keep the bowl filled.
Yeah, let's do a second.
So I think it's got to go that. We're going to go to maintenance. Maintaining a certain amount of food in a bowl or tray, at least for this group of poultry. One day we can go to the next level. You always got to walk before you can run, right? Crawl before you walk before you run. Run before you get in a car and drive fast on the highway.
And with the dogs, it's simple. You do the same thing, just maybe a bigger valve, a bigger tray. That's about it.
There's our idea. So, this effectively has said we are not going to do a rotary vane because that was ratcheted. Okay. I should have said ratchet.
We also have to think about things we have.
A rotor on a motor, or a valve on a gate, like gravity valve or gravity gate valve. That's the answer, I think. The other way of doing it is, again, some kind of ratcheting mechanism. When the weight of the thing changes, it turns a certain amount into the tray, but then it may not dispense the exact amount every time and not work again. It's got to be like semi-automatic. So I think rotor on a motor is not going to work in this case. We don't want power there. It's going to be a gate that opens when when the tray is down, the gate is closed. When the tray is up, the gate is open. Gravity is pulling the tray down, closing the gate. And I can see that on a cantilever. So how about cantilever?
What's that?
And spring.
What's that?
Okay, so here's my arm. Imagine I put a fulcrum or a pin here, so it pivots like that. Here's the food in there. Push down on the food. The gate closes. Okay, so it's down here. Eat a bunch of food. What's going to happen? Opens the gate, opens it, right? A lever or a rod or something comes here, that opens and closes it.
And he's here!
Okay, so
late. We've already decided what we're doing.
Hey Joe, I'm glad you could join us.
Come into the camera. We can't see you.
So, unfortunately, we've had to go so far ahead this time, but next time you just have to get your chores done earlier and be part of this.
Okay, so this is Josiah. He's also a person.
We gotta keep moving.
Yes.
We're really pressed for time here. So, what we've decided to do is we're going to go with hopper, or we're going to go with dispenser systems that will maintain a level of water in a bowl that's drinkable and a tray of food. There'll be a reservoir of water or a hose, that's as far as we've gotten, or a hopper that you fill with food. So I think we should just cancel the hose and go to a reservoir that we fill. So I think we should do that because I don't want to deal with the hose across the driveway. Okay, then when you will take it there, fill it, bring it back. Okay, so I would like to consider the reservoir, but not the hose, and I'd like to consider rain catchment, which may be a later upgrade, but for now we're going to consider it. I don't want to do any pressurized tanks because of the risk, the danger. Okay, triggers. We don't want a pad that with a bird perching on it trigger. We want a gravity valve. And on the water, we want to do a gravity valve, a sprung gravity valve. No electric pumps. No diaphragm or piston pumps. Let's keep it simple. We're going on the KISS theory of keep it simple, stupid. You got cat hair all over you again. Did he just do that?
Mm-hmm.
You will not get your own channel if you can't be responsible.
We're not opening our mouth.
Okay.
If you've seen last video,
so, in conclusion, we are going to do a double dispenser, one for water, a combination dispenser. One is for water, one is for the not granulated, but the pellet food for our poultry. The food will be kept in a hopper that's sealed away from most of the moisture and keeping other things out that shouldn't be in there, like rodents and etc. That will have a funnel shape that will go down to a gate valve that is activated by gravity. There'll be a tray that gets filled. When it's full, it'll weigh down the valve, closing the valve. When it is empty, or as it empties, it will come up and open the valve, allowing more food to tumble in, closing it again. And that's how it will automatically be maintained. Very similar on the water side. It will activate, open and close a valve when the bowl is full. In both cases, we want to have a fail-safe mechanism to keep being contaminated by chicken poop, or rainwater. So there's going to be covers over the bowl and cover over top of the tray that only allow the chickens' heads to reach in there or the ducks' heads to reach in there to drink their food and keep them from perching on top of it and contaminating it. And also maybe weighing it down when it shouldn't be. And then the only other failsafe that Solomon had addressed and we don't have an answer for today is how to prevent clogging. And clogging is most likely going to happen if there's moisture that gets into the hopper. Otherwise, the food should move through there pretty good. So there's a possibility we need to have some system of agitating or being able to force the food to go through if it gets clogged. We'll have to figure out how to do that. And that could be like a rumble pad or something where the chickens will normally walk by or walk on it or peck at it. Maybe they want to peck at it, and just the pecking motion vibrates things and keeps it all moving. I'm not sure if that's something we can do or not. Could be like a salt block or something where they want to peck at it just because it's there, and just that motion of them pecking at it vibrates the stuff to go through. Anyway, we've been 35 minutes. It was much long enough. Thank you all for listening to us, peer group. And I hope you guys have an awesome time with your projects. Can't wait to see what you guys do as well.
And if you haven't watched the last video, watch it. It's not been edited. We just posted it on YouTube. It's hilarious.
We haven't had the time to even do the editing, but maybe one day we'll get our stuff together and do
maybe
some editing.
We'll have time.
Have some cool sounds and cool little video things. Whatever. We're not worried about that right now. We're worried about learning science, technology, engineering, mechanics, and the creative design process. So that's what we're doing. And these guys are homeschooled. We love homeschool. All right.
Cat hair is